So what better way to start the week than with a great SoFi earnings report? Stock is up around 11% or so at the time of making this video. Of course, do remember that this week is a big week because on Wednesday we'll see what the Fed decides when it comes to interest rates. So during the week, expect volatility. Now in this video, let's talk about SoFi's earnings report. Yet another record quarter for the company. They beat their own guidance despite the fact that their guidance, well, calculated the impact that would have been positive when it comes to the student loan moratorium ending. Of course, that did not end, but it doesn't matter. In the last 2 years, SoFi kept on executing correctly, and in this quarter, nothing has changed as well. Beat on their own guidance, and their outlook is looking also pretty good. So we're going to go over all of that in this video. Of course, if you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, and if you want to support me further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment to get the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. So they start off with a 2022 year in review. You can see here everything that the company has done throughout the year. New product that they launched, features, 3% cashback, etc. The latest one here is SoFi launches early access to pay in 4. Now, I do want to go to a tweet here from Riley here. He said SoFi is the first US bank to offer buy now, pay later, surpassing Apple. Apple is facing delays in implementing this feature, likely due to backend issues with Goldman Sachs. A partnership between SoFi and Apple seems unlikely, but not improbable. Then this picture here talks a bit more about the delays of the Apple offering. Just wanted to mention this because, well, again, execution at SoFi has been splendid. Now, going back to SoFi's quarter here. So members increased yet another 51% year over year. They added close to 500,000 new members in Q4, bringing the total to over 5.2 million. So again, tremendous momentum here, and it will help with the flywheel, as you will see a bit further. They added another 695,000 new products in Q4, bring the total to close to 7.9 million. That's up 53% year over year. Galileo accounts reach 131 million. That's up 31%. And then, as you can see here, of course, at the start for SoFi, lending was dominating, right? Now, that segment grew 24% year over year to 1.3 million lending products. But as you can see here on the right, you can clearly see that the financial services products have been increasing way faster than the lending. So they went from depending solely on the lending business to now, well, being a more financial services products business. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. But that segment here grew 60% year over year to 6.6 million. And then we go to the financial services productivity loop. As you can see right now, total financial services products are 4.9 times more than the total lending products, which means you can see the loop here. Q4, as we've seen, total products reaching close to 8 million. The difference between Q4 2021 is pretty visible here. Now, continuing on that front here, for revenue. So they recorded another record adjusted net revenue quarter of $443 million that increased 58% year over year, and record adjusted EBITDA of $70 million, 14 times year over year growth. Of course, you can see that pretty clearly right here. Adjusted EBITDA has been increasing pretty fast, not just quarter over quarter, but you will see when we look at 2020, 2021, 2022. As you can see in the next slide here, adjusted EBITDA, 2021 was just $30 million. Right now, 2022, we're at $143 million. Then back in 2019, 2020, it was still negative. So they've made that switch here in 2021, and right now there's really no stopping it. With regards to annual adjusted revenue, well, you can see here the growth has been exceptional, despite the fact that they are working with one hand tied behind their backs when it comes to the student loans, which again, let's hope that in 2023 that part gets resolved and it adds to the business. It goes from headwind to tailwind. Now, as I said at the start of this video, you can clearly see here that they beat their own guidance quite comfortably. On the low end, 5%, on the high end, 4% when it comes to adjusted net revenue for fiscal year 2022 here. Adjusted EBITDA, they beat approximately the same thing, low end 6%, high end 5%. Now for the full year, despite all the headwinds, they beat on guidance here as well. Not that much, 2 to 1%, but still they beat on guidance despite the headwinds, despite the difficulties. They managed to execute correctly and beat. A lot of companies, when we see some headwinds that are unexpected suddenly, then they issue lower guidance. No, SoFi did not do that. They actually raised guidance quite a couple of times during 2022, and they beat on that as well. That's what I called perfect execution. Now, when it comes to guidance for Q1, they expect adjusted net revenue between $430 and $440 million, so a year-over-year growth of around 35 to 36%. Adjusted EBITDA to be between $40 and $45 million, so that's an adjusted EBITDA margin of approximately 9.5%. Now, as for the full year 2023, they expect to deliver approximately $2 billion in adjusted net revenue and $260 to $280 million in adjusted EBITDA at a 30% incremental EBITDA margin. So again, you will see that graph 2021, 2022, 2023 that keeps increasing quite nicely. This guide assumes positive quarterly GAAP net income in Q4 and a 20% incremental GAAP net income margin for the full year. Remember my last video about SoFi? Some were laughing here when I said that SoFi is already, let's say, profitable if you exclude some one-time thing that doesn't really impact the business on the bottom line that much. Of course, it is calculated because of accounting rules, etc. But as you will see here, hopefully in Q4 2023, on a GAAP basis, the company will become officially profitable. Now, of course, I can't end this video without looking at stock-based compensation. So it's 2020, 2021, 2022. It's this line right here. I'll try and highlight it maybe later on. But basically, we can see that it has increased each and every year. We went from 100 million to 305 million. But if we look at each and every quarter, we can see that Q1 to Q2, we saw an increase. But after that, we saw a decrease to Q3 and another decrease to Q4. We will follow this in Q1, Q2 of this year as well and see if this trend is following. If we go even lower and lower when it comes to SBC, that's great. Now, if you can see here at the bottom, we can scroll down. Adjusted EBITDA, as we obviously seen before, we can see that 2022 negative, 2021 positive, 2022 positive as well. And with this year, expect this one to increase and end the year maybe with a net income positive quarter. Now I'm quickly going back to the top here when it comes to the segment financial highlights. So you can see your lending, technology platform, financial services, corporate. You can clearly see financial services jumped triple digits. Corporate still negative here, well, worse than last year. But when it comes to lending, some of you might ask, well, how come lending has increased 45% from 2021 to 2022? Well, basically there was huge momentum when it comes to personal loans. Obviously student loans, not yet, but personal loans. So I just wanted to touch on that. And then before we conclude this video, this is the way it looks when it comes to the graph. So right now we closed at just under $6 with the little bump that we see right now. Pre-market we're at $6.44. That blue line here is the 200-day moving average. So we're moving quite closely to it. This is on a weekly chart. Of course, we're going to see a big gap right here. Most gaps get filled, not all, but let's see what happens, especially again this week with the Fed meeting on Wednesday. Keep a close eye on this and keep a close eye when it comes to, well, the 200-day moving average. To move over this, we need a big green candle. Again, this is the weekly chart, so a lot of things can happen between Monday and Friday. So to conclude, what can I say? Another great quarter of execution when it comes to SoFi. This year seems to be another good year to be a SoFi shareholder when you look at the core business. Of course, the stock will do whatever it will do, but eventually it will follow the business performance. They said net income, GAAP net income positive Q4 of this year. Let's see if that happens. That will be a huge catalyst for the company and the bull thesis for investors as well. Of course, do share your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of videos, maybe hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.